Hello again, watch friends. Welcome back. I'd like to talk about this Omega Constellation. It's not a particularly high horology kind of watch, but it's significant. It's significant to me because it was the first quote-unquote luxury watch I ever bought. So let's turn the Wayback Machine to 1990, and I was going through some major life changes at the time. I made a positive life-altering decision after a long time, and I decided to reward myself with a luxury watch. So I went to Fortunoff, and those of you in the New York, New Jersey area know that Fortunoff was a sort of a medium to high-end department store. They sold home furnishings and luggage and jewelry, china, and watches. Fortunoff has been gone for many years now, but I went to Fortunoff and they had a very large luxury watch department. They had Breitling, Omega, Rado, Tag Heuer, and a few others. I had my eye on a Breitling Aerospace. Remember, this was 1990. I thought it was really cool. It was an analog digital watch, highly accurate because of the quartz movement, really lightweight. It was a titanium case and bracelet, and I just thought it was fantastic. Unfortunately, it was too expensive. I couldn't afford it. So I ended up buying this Constellation, and at the time, I really didn't know much about watches. In fact, I distinctly remember having a discussion with a saleswoman about the accuracy of various watches. And, of course, kicking myself now, and have for many years, at the time, when I learned that quartz watches were more accurate than mechanical watches, I thought, well, I should have a quartz watch. It's more accurate. So that's why I ended up with this Omega Constellation quartz, and as you can see, and we'll get into it a little bit more, as you can see, it's been around. I wore it for over a decade as a daily wearer. If we take a look at the bezel, you can see that it's, get the focus here. It's got a gold bezel. Bracelet's got gold on both sides. I couldn't actually afford the solid gold interlinks because that was, I think, $100 more at the time. But it served me very well. It's an attractive watch. So let's take a look. Let's start at the case back. So if you look closely, you see that this is, let me just focus it here. This is the Observatory of Geneva. Notice it says course on there. The Constellation has had this emblem ever since 1953. And if you look, you can see there's stars. There's actually 8 stars around the observatory. Those 8 stars represent how Omega in the early 1930s at the competition in Geneva took 8 of the top prizes in watch accuracy. So they've had this, the Constellation has had this emblem of the observatory and the 8 stars ever since they started making the Constellation in 1953. I wanted to point out one other thing. I mentioned the case back of the Omega Constellation. Omega has a tradition of putting interesting symbols on their case backs. For example, here's a Omega Seamaster from about 1965. In fact, I'm going to be doing a video on this pretty soon. And if you look at the back of the Seamaster, you can see that it too has an interesting emblem on the back. And likewise, if you look at my Speedmaster reduced, and you look on the back of that, you will also see it's got a Speedmaster emblem. So little did I know in 1990 that I kind of liked Omegas and I kind of liked their emblems. Just wanted to show how they have a continuity of doing that kind of thing. So if we look at the case, you can see that it's a very small watch by today's standards, and the diameter is 33 millimeters. It's only 11 millimeters thick. It wears very well. In the 1990s and early 2000s, I wore a suit to work every day, so this functioned as my dress watch. The lug width is a surprising 24 millimeters, but it's got almost like an integrated bracelet there on the bottom of the case, and it's 38 millimeters from here to here, from lug to lug, 38 millimeters. It's a caliber 1429 movement. It's the model 95 MW 3291, and if I remember correctly, actually I do remember because I looked it up, I still have the receipt from Fortunoff. I paid $1,100 for this in 1990. Well, in today's dollars, that's about $2,100. So it was not an inexpensive watch at the time, but it's the one that I chose as my first. So what else? I've already mentioned the bracelet, stainless steel bracelet with gold on both sides. It's got a sliding clasp on the bottom with a fold over buckle and a snap. Got the Omega logo in gold. Interestingly, this is a one-sided button release right here. More common is the two buttons where there's a button on either side, but you press the button on the one side, you open it up, and it slides on. And one of the things I thought was cool, I think, at the time, and for many years, is that the bicompact's subdials, you can see that the left side is day of the week, the right side is day of the month. So it's a day-date watch, three-hander, hour, minute, and second, and you can see the second hand moving second by second, as is the way that quartz watches move. But I thought it was really cool to have these subdials because it almost looked like a chronograph, which I definitely could not afford back then. At least I couldn't afford the ones they had at Fortunoff. But what's interesting is, as time went on, as I got older and my eyesight got worse, I could not read this dial without my glasses. So I started wearing glasses on about 10, 15 years ago. And even now, it's a little bit tough with my glasses to read the fine print on the dials. So that's maybe a lesson, or not, that as you age, the watch doesn't age, you age, or I age, and sometimes the dial gets a little more difficult to read. What else is notable? Well, as I mentioned, the case is stainless steel. It's still an attractive watch. If you look at the gold bezel there, you see that it has Roman numerals for the hour indicators. And this is actually the only Roman numeral watch I own. Even when I bought my very first mechanical watch back in 1974, a Caravelle, it had indices. It didn't have numbers, and it definitely didn't have Roman numerals. So, but what's interesting about these Roman numerals is, because this thing was a daily wearer for over a decade, those numbers, the black of the numbers, the black painting there, wore off. And twice in the last 27 years, I had the Roman numbers repainted on this dial. So, what do I like about this watch? Well, I still think it has a quality look to it. fits really nice on the wrist. You can see that it's got a nice wrist presence. Little bit small for me. And again, I know that now because I have more experience with a variety of watches. But it still looks nice. I've never polished the bracelet. I've never polished the case. So all those scratches and scuff marks are all original, so to speak, and just show that this watch was well worn and well loved for many, many years. So I still like the way it looks. As I mentioned, dislikes, a little bit difficult to read. It's quartz, so nothing wrong with quartz per se, but had I known better 27 years ago, I would have probably chosen a mechanical watch. Omega's quite well known for its mechanical watches. And you can see that the hands are gold hands, very attractive. It's a classy looking watch. I've always thought so, and I still think so. It doesn't get much wrist time anymore these days, but I pull it out once in a while and wear it and enjoy it. So in summary, this is my 1990 era Omega Constellation, a quartz watch, my first quote-unquote luxury watch, and I really enjoyed the heck out of it over the years. So interesting to have something that's personally significant like this. And of course it's tied to those major life changes that I had in 1990. So thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.